Good morning. Today, I wanted to talk about something that we don't talk about very much, which is listening. And I don't mean listening to others. If you read my blog this week or listen to my podcast, that's really listening to other people. If you are here today, then you know that what this is about listening to yourself. So I'm sitting here in workout clothes because I have to listen to myself. I've had two children, and both of them decided to sit on my sciatic nerve on my left hip when I was pregnant with them. And it caused irreversible nerve damage. And it's totally fine, right? Because I would much rather have children than, not have nerve damage. But what I know about myself when I listen to my body is if I go 48 hours without working out, I start to get stiff. And that sciatic nerve gets really irritated and I start to limp. It's crazy, but it's true. So it's actually better for me to move every single day. I don't want to, guys. I don't want to. My brain is like, no, but my body says, yes, please. And usually when I'm doing squats or even running or doing jumping, my hip feels so much better. So my body is saying, this is exactly what you need to be doing. But it's funny to me how much we don't listen to our body's triggers. The best example I can give of this is my own son. He is 4, but he still pees in his pants. Not all the time, but just randomly. And I asked him, "Why do you keep doing this? I know you know the feeling, you need to go to the bathroom." And he doesn't want to miss out. He doesn't want to miss out on whatever it is that's going on. It could be arts and crafts, it could be reading a book, it could be playing a game, it could be friends are over. He doesn't want to miss out. My son has FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And the thing about that that's dangerous is he pees in his pants, like he's not listening to his body. But that to me made me realize how early on we don't listen to our bodies. We don't listen to ourselves, the little nudges in ourselves that are saying, stop and go to the bathroom, or stop and think through this before you make a decision. So, as an adult, you're probably like, well, I don't really have FOMO. Yes, you do. You have FOMO, but it's socially based, which I think my son's is as well. But it's around more peer pressure in terms of everybody else is doing X, everybody else is engaging in other things, everyone else is, staying late at work. So I need to stay late at work. Everyone else is doing something at work a certain way. So I should do it that way too. But your gut is telling you otherwise. Your gut is saying, why? Why are they doing it this way? But you're afraid to ask because you don't want to stick out. And I'm here to tell you right now that I used to be exactly like that. I used to really desperately want to fit in. Desperately is not even a strong enough word. I wanted to be in the cool crowd, whatever that was, whether that was middle school, high school, college, first job. And that cool crowd changes, right? Because when you get a job, the cool crowd are the smart ones, the people who stay late, work crazy hours, and all of that. So I always wanted to be in that select chosen crowd. But my body periodically would say, I don't think you need to do this. And one of those things is, working those crazy hours. Eventually, you're going to crash. So that's not a sustainable way of continuing on. And also, it's kind of stupid. And that word's a strong word, but I'm going to use it here because we are all starting to realize that you shouldn't have to work harder, you should work smarter. And I started to realize, I don't need to work crazy hours. I need to streamline the processes I'm working with. And when I got the courage to move away from social norms and question things and streamline processes, I worked less hours at work and was more productive. And guess what? I felt guilty about it. Yeah, I'm being serious. I felt guilty about it because I wasn't working as hard as everyone else. I was working smarter. I was working as hard. I was just working smarter. So that's the first thing I want you to say is just because everyone else is doing it, don't I sound like your mother in, high school? Just because everybody else is doing it does not mean it's right. Trust your gut on asking more questions. That's going to make you happier in the long run. Now, if you know me at all, my name is Emily Hawkins. I was in corporate America for 15 years. I left corporate America 2 years ago to start my own career and life coaching business. And that is a leap, right? It sounds like a leap. It was not a leap. It was actually something that I did over time. But every single move I made toward my dream and away from corporate America felt wrong. It felt weird because the majority of people weren't doing that, especially the people I was working with at the time, right? I was working with all people in corporate America. And I have to say, first and foremost, that corporate America taught me so much, and I will never, ever badmouth it because I am a product of it. It made me a better person, a better businesswoman, and stronger human being, thicker skinned. So I have an MBA on a piece of paper, but I feel like I have another MBA called experience in the workforce. So I truly loved that time, but I kept getting these nudges about doing something different. And maybe you are too. And it's not necessarily that you're going to open your own business, but it's just maybe it's time to do a different thing. Maybe it's time to move jobs. Maybe it's time to start the family, but you're afraid you're going to get put on the back burner at work. Maybe it's time to switch industries entirely. And all of that can be a little scary, right? But listen to your body. What is it saying to you about that? Trust it. It's leading you in the right direction. I can promise you. And I really want us to get back in touch with that. So, what I want to do is, I want to share with you some questions that I want you to ask yourself in these moments of, I'm not sure what I should be doing here. So, first, I want you to say, what is making me scared? So, what is scaring you about this situation? This one's fun to me because you can go down a rabbit hole on this, and I want you to go all the way down. So, what is scaring you? If I leave this job, I could go to a job that's less stable, and then the company could shut down, and I'm living in a van down by the river. I'm kidding when I say that, but at the same time, that's typically what we're scared of, is not having financial security if we move forward with a decision. So when you're thinking about what makes me scared about that, what wall could you build? What wall of security could you build? One of my favorite things is, if you've ever had a financial advisor, and if you don't have one, please go get one. I don't care if you have very little money or a lot of money, everyone should have a financial advisor because you need a plan for your future. What they will always tell you is diversification is important, right? You don't put all your eggs in one basket. If we look back at Enron, great example. That company was going gangbusters, and so many people in that company put all of their lifetime savings in stock in that company. But we all know they were falsifying records and all of that, so all that money went away. Technically, it never really existed, and people lost their life savings because they put all their money in one place. Diversify. So when you're thinking about moving jobs or doing different things, what's a different income stream that you could possibly make? And by the way, if you are living with someone, married, whatever, doesn't matter. If you're living with someone and you're sharing resources, that's diversification in and of itself. So if you're working in different industries, different places, you've already diversified somewhat. So that's a good step in the right direction. But think about, what else could you diversify? In this day and age, there are 1,000 different ways of making money. I want you to think about these things so that you stop being scared and that you build a plan, and that voice inside, you get to honor it. That's really what I want you to do. So the next question I want you to ask is, do others opinions matter more than my happiness in this scenario. And I'm saying this because I grew up with a family that you started a job when you were right out of college, usually around 21 or 22, and you left that job when you were 65. You were loyal. And now I realize that was a generational thing. That was something that the baby boomer generation and generations previous to that really embraced because companies took care of their employees. And nowadays, there's really no loyalty on either side, but I don't really think of it as a loyalty thing. I think of it as learning and growing on both sides. Because if you stay at a company for longer than 6 years, you are no longer effective. So, and when I say a company, if you stay, probably not a lot. You're not impacting things like you used to. Moving around is a good thing. So I want you to say to yourself, if I left this company, I'm letting down my boss. So your boss's happiness matters more than yours, is what you're saying. No, build a plan around that. Okay, you want to leave your job. Then give them 4 weeks versus 2 weeks and give them a manual. I've done this in the past where I created a point and click guide of every single tool I had built, how to use it, how to update it daily, weekly, monthly, and how to run any report that I was doing so that if there wasn't anyone to fill that position, I was not leaving my boss out to dry. So mitigate these feelings. If this is going to make someone unhappy, how can I bring them with me in this? Because I need to honor myself. We don't do enough of that. I look at my own husband and how if I had just said to him, I'm leaving corporate America and I'm going to open my own business, he would have said, you're crazy. Instead, when I approached him about my plan, it was just that. I gave him a plan of exactly, first of all, I started with where I wanted us to be from a family place, a financial place, a security place. And then I backed into exactly what I had to do to get there and how long that timeline was. By the end of that conversation, my husband was 100% on board with this decision. And it was because I gave him a plan. I gave him a path of what I was going to do to make that happen. So I was worried, that he wanted me to stay in corporate America, but I laid out the plan and brought him mentally with me. And then it made everyone happy. So do not choose other people's happiness over your own, especially when your soul will slowly die if you honor theirs over yours. It just will. I'm sorry. There's no nicer way of saying it. The next one is, in 5 years, if I choose the path less traveled, where could I be? And that's a fun one because I feel like it's a fun one. I want you to dream limitlessly about those 5 years and say, where could I possibly be? Now, I approached my husband 3 years ago about leaving corporate America, and I said naively that before I left corporate America, I was going to match my corporate income in 12 months. I'm laughing now because that was just not going to happen, but I didn't know it at the time. So what I was saying to him was, within the next 12 months of still working in corporate America, I'm going to match my corporate income and then leave. That didn't happen. That actually didn't happen until this year. So about 3.5 years into this business, I am now at my corporate income. But do you know what I did in those last 3 years? I realized that a lot of things that I thought I needed, I didn't need. A lot of things that I thought I wanted, I didn't really want because money was a little bit tighter. And I decided that my freedom mattered more than that item on Amazon or that Stitch Fix box. And I can honestly say it's been an amazing ride. And I'm happy that security is coming into play now. And my husband also 100% backed us for a good portion because it took time. And I feel very fortunate for that. But I'm so glad that I dreamed about 5 years because 5 years is coming up for me well, in about a year. And I'm surpassing what I'm going where I was in corporate America. And that makes me really happy. So think about that. Where do you want to be in 5 years? And it doesn't have to be necessarily a job title, it can be a feeling, it can be experiencing something. Maybe you want to go somewhere. Maybe you want your children to be in a certain school that's more expensive. Maybe you want to do something. What is that feeling that you want to have in 5 years? That's what I would focus on. So, next question is, in the same 5 years, if I chose the safer option, where will I be? So, if I had chosen the safer option, I think I would be, and I'm not kidding when I say this, drinking a lot, because I was not happy in that role. Um, I think I would maybe have even gotten fired. And I know that sounds crazy, but I was just done. I had made a decision in myself. I had made a decision of, here is what I want. And the longer I stayed in that other job, the more it felt like putting myself in handcuffs. And if you are feeling at all like that, then it is time for you to move on, because things are going to get ugly. You're going to potentially say things you're not proud of. You are going to really lose any sort of engagement with the company. And that is grounds for being let go. So, really, really listen to that and say, if I choose the safer path, it might be safer, but it also might be more dangerous, if that makes sense. So now I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and feel your heart. You can actually feel your heart beating, right? And in that time period, listen to your body for a minute. Where do you feel it? Where do you feel it? Do you feel your stomach? For me, my emotions really live in my stomach. Do you have like a headache? Are your muscles tense? Listen to that. What is causing that? And then decide to yourself, is that really where you want to be? Because I don't think it is. Relax a little bit and decide on that 5 years from now where you really want to be.